Welcome back, I'm Captain Xavier, and for my personal build this month, I'm finally going to build myself a pair of Auto-Stryfes. I've been wanting to do that since I built a pair for a commission back in, I think, 2016. And I'm finally getting around to it. I've already painted the blasters. They came out really spiffy, though. Some of you are going to be very, very upset because they were originally blue. But I have more blue stripes than I do orange stripes, and I don't want to paint the orange ones because they're already in my colors. So, this is going to be an interesting experiment because one of them I'm going to be using the XWS kit. XSW?
I think it's XSW. But
I think it's XSW. Anyway, the pre-made kit that you can get from Swiatek or NF Strike. It was sent to me by Swiatek, so I very much appreciate that. And then the other one is going to be getting the kit that you can 3D print off of Thingiverse. It's a little bit simpler than this one. It's got fewer teeth on both the pinion gear and the pusher, but we'll see if it works. I have no idea. And then, of course, the mount. I already had the motors, so we will find out which one of these works better. I am going to be running them quite differently. This one I am going to use its battery tray mounted into the jam door. So it'll be running off 2 IMRs and I'll be using the stock pusher motor that came with it. Whereas this one is going to be running off of the battery tray that is going to have a 2S LiPo in it, and we'll have a MEISHEL 2 motor. Alright, so we're using open flywheel project cages. One was printed by Out of Darts when I went to his printer party, and the other one was printed on my printer, and you can tell the difference. His is a little bit sharper, and I don't know if he was just printing it at a higher resolution, or if he was using his really fancy printer, or what the deal is, or if I just still don't know what I'm doing, which is really the most likely option. But we got the motors in there. Now we get to start. Get them flywheels in with my new flywheel jig gizmo. So I ran into a snag with the first set of worker wheels. These are the older ones that still have the holes for the set screws, but don't actually need them anymore because they've added plastic to them. And one of them works just fine, is nice and centered, as you can see. And the other one, I don't know how well it's showing up on there, but is not centered and is wobbling quite badly. And I don't know what is the source of the wobble, but I can't get rid of it, and it is not good. You don't want a flywheel that's not balanced. So on the other one, I'm using the newer set that I was sent, and they don't have those set screw holes anymore. They have been completely made for this purpose, and they are working beautifully. So I've printed out another cage that I've put motors in, and I'm going to do these. So they will have the same wheels, the same cage, the same motors, and so that should be a better comparison anyway. Technically, these two are the same. I mean, this one was just printed by someone else, but it's the same file. Alright, I have both flywheels all wired up. Now, hopefully, the shells are dry and ready for installation. I would eventually like to have voltmeters in both of them, but I only have one voltmeter. But the other one, the voltmeter would be getting blocked by the battery cage anyway, so it works out. Alright, here is the shell. As you can see, it is a reverse gear up, so instead of orange with black stripes, it's black with orange stripes. Got the X-Strike logo on there, and there is going to be a lot more orange. Like I said, I've been trying to get away from mostly black paint jobs, but in this case, it'll have all of the stripes normal orange plus additional orange that should make it pop pretty cool. We'll see how it ends up looking. It'll be that shade of orange, so it's a different orange than the body, or than the stripes, but we'll see how it works out. I'm gonna start with the homemade kit, actually, just for fun and excitement. One thing I will need is an additional switch, because this one is going to have a voltmeter. So the voltmeter will use the jam door switch that this used to have. The positive will go to the switch, and then from there to the battery. The negative will just go to the negative on the flywheels because it's close enough, and because it's a direct negative line, so it doesn't matter. And then when we open the jam door, we'll be able to see the voltage on our battery. But it won't actually prevent the gun from firing. The solder I've been using was this super solder that was sent to me by Gearbox, and I absolutely love it. It is so much nicer to work with than the stuff I was using previously. It melts faster, and I don't have to use flux to get it to adhere like I did with the other stuff. So I heartily recommend it, and I will probably be ordering more myself. I finally figured out how this thing is mounted in here. I had it in there upside down. So it appears to actually pretty much be friction held in place, which is pretty snazzy. Now, one thing that this very nice replacement trigger is in fact missing is the peg for the return spring. Now, the Stryfe does not normally have a return spring because it's all built in, but the Auto-Stryfe needs that return spring. So I'm hoping that there is enough material there for me to drill in and put in a screw that will act as the post. So the trigger lock has long since been lost to the modding that John did to it. And so if I want to have a lock, which I do because I don't want to be able to pull the trigger and have the full auto kit running if it's not revving, because it'll jam, and it will jam badly. So these plates just glue in right into the bottom of the Stryfe. You then just have to Dremel out a little bit there, and it gives you a convenient mounting spot for any of your standard big Omron style switches that then lines up perfectly with your rev trigger and gives you convenient screw mounts for it. And all I've done as far as dremeling is dremeled out everything that would get in the way of the switch down to the same level as the switch plate. The switch plate is available on Thingiverse. I will have the link for all of the 3D printed parts in the description. You will have to modify the plate that goes on top of it a little bit as well. Alright, so we have our rev switch completely mounted. I love those little plates. I will use them always from now on. I will definitely need to look up who created that so that I can give them full credit because they are awesome and that is genius and I love it. Okay. Next thing we need to mount is the trigger switch, which I was going to mount lower but then realized that the wiring would be an issue. So we're going to do it up here. And it should make the wiring simpler. And it fits nicely right there. We just need to glue it. I would love it if somebody made a switch plate for that. So, if you're out there, somebody design me a switch plate to hold that switch. Okay, it's all wired. Let's see if it's all wired correctly. It is done. The internals anyway. Now we can button it up. Well, there it is. The first one done. This one with the 3D printed auto kit, which appears to work. We've yet to find out how well it works. Let's go find out. Alright, we've got a random assortment of darts. See if it can do anything with them. Oh, yes it can! Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, that makes me so happy. Well, it pleases me greatly to know that I can in fact build my own full auto kits now for the Stryfe. That works lovely. But, for science, we're going to build the other one. This one with its own battery pack, and see how I like that. And if I don't much care for it, I will just wire it into the original battery housing, just like I did that one, and no harm, no foul. So, let's do it all again. Wouldn't you know, the drop-in kit is much easier to install because everything's already wired for you, but that is to be expected. As I said, I am not wiring it into the jam door just yet. I want to test them, and given how well the homemade kit, the 3D printed kit, worked, there is a high probability that I will be going with those, and I'll end up using this kit in something else. I'll just print another, I already printed another one of those kits, and I will just take this one out and install that one in so that they're identical. And then use this in, I don't know, probably an MP5 or something. But I want to test them anyway, just side by side, so I can see what the actual numbers are. I'm relatively certain I will be more than pleased with the performance of that one, but I'm curious what the difference actually is, and I'm sure you are too. So, let's throw some batteries in this thing. The big difference is, of course, since they're separate power sources, there's no dip in the flywheel speed when you start firing. Whereas when you have a whole additional MEISHEL 2 motor drawing off the same source, there is, of course, going to be a dip. And that's what I really want to test is that dip significant enough that I feel the need to separate the power sources. I mean, I really like having the little voltmeter, but frankly, it might not be worth the dip, and it wouldn't be difficult to get my hands on a bunch of these and run a MEISHEL 2 motor off of a pair of IMRs. The point is, it would just be simpler if they were all running off the same battery. Having two different sets of batteries, having to charge them both, having to worry about which one runs out first, that is just added complication, and simplicity is often best. So we're going to button it up with just this pack loose so that I don't use unnecessary steps. Alright, this one doesn't have all the bells and whistles on it because I'm probably going to tear it right back apart again. But let's do ye old firing demonstration. I don't know how well you can see this. Let's see if we can't make it a little bit better. There we go. Alright. Oh yeah, this one shoots way faster. But they both shoot beautifully. Alright, well they are very nearly completed, and they are gorgeous. They are exactly how I want them to turn out. The only part that I need to reprint is the stock cap. I'm going to make a slight alteration to the file, so that it will fit in my holsters better. And so it'll be the same filament color as some of the other parts that I've printed. But I absolutely love how it came out cosmetically. And tomorrow we will find out how they perform functionally. I'm gearing them for a very specific purpose. They're going to be my secondary blasters during HvZ. So I need them to be below a certain power level, and I need them to have a certain rate of fire. If they fire too powerfully, then I'm not going to be able to use them at point-blank range, which most of HvZ is. And if the rate of fire is too high, then I'm going to be putting all of my darts into the first zombie and having nothing left for the next ones. So going for a very specific performance on these, and so that's why I've chosen the motors and the batteries and all of the parts that I have. And speaking of parts, let's talk about all the 3D printed parts on here so that everybody who contributed to these blasters can get their fair share of credit, because there's actually a surprising amount of 3D printed parts going on in here, which is why they came out looking so unique, and I'm very, very pleased with them. The flywheels, or the flywheel cages that I used are from the Open Flywheel project, which is something that is absolutely amazing, and I love those guys so much because they have cages for absolutely everything. They even have cages for non-nerf stuff now. And they have them in all the different crushes size. So for those people who like really high crush, they've got those. So these are the Strife ones that they have. It's the standard crush. They're not high crush cages. The full auto kit that I have in one of them was made by Kitsune 109. It's available on Thingiverse. All these links will be in the description, of course. The handle cap right here that fills in that gap that I absolutely love, because otherwise the Stryfe feels like it's going to fall out of my hands, was made by Flechette Spectre as part of his The Block kit. The switch plate that I have in the handles that makes it so easy to mount those Omron switches was made by Flygonial, and so was the flared Magwell. That was also by Flygonial. The motors, as well as the extended mag release, were both made by Foam Blast. They actually sell these, but they also made them available on Thingiverse, which is just awesome of them. And then the motors are their MEISHEL 2 motors, which I love because they run on a 2S, but are very functional. The Flywheels themselves were given to me by Banggood to test, and the full auto kit, the drop-in full auto kit, was given to me by Swiatek to test. So both of those are excellent, and I highly recommend them. I'll have the links as well. The triggers that I'm using in these, which I really like because it's a little bit different, a little bit unique, was made by Ultrasonic 2, and the stock cap is part of blasterforgePH's Hulker kit, which is a gorgeous cosmetic kit. Unfortunately, I can't have as much of some of those cosmetic kits I would like, because I'd then have to make entirely new holsters, which I should probably do anyway. But I can't add, the various parts that go here or the top rail, because the holsters are very specifically designed. The battery door that I'm using here that fits those tiny 2S lipos was made by the Lone Wolf 052. The muzzle brakes that I have on here was made by Lucky Number 0313. And last but not least, the VoltMeter mount that I have in there. Foam Blast has one, but it's for a larger voltmeter than I'm using. The small voltmeters that I have been using, a person reached out to me by the name of a Kuba Swiatek, and I absolutely know I am butchering that name completely. He's from Poland, and he actually emailed me those files, so they're not available on Thingiverse as far as I know. But he sent those to me specifically, and they fit the smaller voltmeters that I use absolutely perfectly. It's absolutely awesome. So those are all the people that contributed something in some way. And my friend John is actually the one who provided the Stryfes. These were ones that he had previously, back when he first got into modding and didn't know any better, modded them to take 9-volt batteries, which of course doesn't work. So the battery trays were already all chewed up, and there was some cosmetic stuff that needed to be worked on, which is why I didn't feel bad about painting a pair of blue Stryfes, because they had already been janked. And I love how they came out. So tomorrow, or later today, actually, at this point, it's so late, I will actually take these out and I will put them through a series of tests, fire different kinds of ammo through them, fire at different ranges, fire at some targets, figure out which one has the higher rate of fire, which one has what the power is, what kind of FPS they're getting, get all those numbers for you guys. And we'll see if these are in fact going to work for what I want them for. So, for now, let me know what you guys think of them. What do you think cosmetically? What do you think if there's any other 3D printed parts you think I could definitely add? Keep in mind that some parts I can't add because they won't fit in the holsters anymore, but I could have the part that fills in up here. I might get one of those. I think there's a couple on Thingiverse that I could print out and give a try. And that might fill in that a little bit. Anyway, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. This was real fun. I've been wanting to build myself Auto-Stryfes for well over a year, and now I'm going to have them, and I love them. And so, yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. And as always, thank you guys for watching.